Joining me now is Republican strategist and contributor to The Hill, Gianno Caldwell. Gianno, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me as always, Liz.
All right, Gianno, the million-dollar question today: was Hillary Clinton able to unite her party, notwithstanding all the Bernie protesters at the beginning, the protesters outside the convention? Overall, did she unite?
Well, we got to look at Bill Clinton and ask that question because he slept on her speech yesterday. So I'm not sure how unified or how electrifying she was yesterday for the nation. But I think that she brought together some great speakers who did a tremendous job in terms of uniting Democrats and making them feel comfortable and fired up. Michelle Obama being one of them, President Obama being one of them, and Joe Biden being the key leads in their address for the convention.
Right, I think maybe her white pantsuit got more attention than the content of her speech than her policies did. But let's talk about the protesters then. We saw the footage at the beginning of this segment. We covered it live as it was happening. 200 Bernie Sanders delegates walked out of the convention after the nomination. And then Green Party candidate Jill Stein, Dr. Jill Stein, joined the protest. I believe it was on Wednesday night. Is that what these Bernie Sanders supporters are going to do in the face of Hillary getting the nomination? Are they going to vote third party for Dr. Jill Stein or Gary Johnson?
Well, you know what? That's a very interesting question. And I was on the ground in Philly during the convention, and I saw thousands of protesters. I mean, it was mass chaos, and you didn't see that on some of these other networks. They didn't much cover it. But you could tell that the Bernie Sanders supporters, they believe that Hillary Clinton is a crook, a liar, and a panderer, and they refuse to get behind her. They refuse to coalesce. I know on one network there was a lady who said she was a 60-year-old Democrat. She's been a Democrat her entire life, and the question was asked, it was posed, will you be supporting Hillary Clinton? And she said, absolutely not. They said, who will you be voting for? She said, I will be voting for whomever is going to hurt Hillary Clinton the most. Whoever's my vote is going to hurt the most. I will probably be voting for Donald Trump. So we see across the spectrum, because I've been polling folks on my social media at Gianno Caldwell on Twitter and Facebook, asking the very question, have these speakers convinced you to vote for Hillary Clinton? And the majority of folks say no time and time again. These speeches were feel-good speeches. People might have felt good, but the reality quickly comes to the fore once the speeches are done. Hillary Clinton's party is very much divided.
Right, and most of the speeches that were electrifying, most of the speeches that engaged the crowd within the convention center itself, I think, weren't about Hillary Clinton herself. They weren't the speeches that were talking about Hillary's experience. They were the speeches that were hacking Trump or talking about some outside issue. But I think the crux of the matter, Gianno, is a CNN poll that I just read said that 68% of Americans, this is not Democrats and Republicans, 68% of all Americans think Hillary Clinton is dishonest. How does she overcome that when people walk into the ballot box and see her name?
The truth of the matter is she won't be able to overcome that by Election Day. That just won't happen. The only thing that the Democrats can do is paint Trump as just as dishonest as she is, which would be fairly impossible to do because we know from the things that Donald Trump says, even the things that you and I both disagree with or how he says something, it doesn't matter. He at least comes off as truthful, honest, and frank. So you don't have to worry about what Trump is thinking because he'll tell you. Hillary Clinton, on the other hand, we can't expect that. We can expect a lie 68% of the time, according to most Americans.
Right, I think their flaws are probably at two ends of the spectrum. One is too scripted and one is perhaps not scripted enough in certain moments. Let me go back to a comment you made before about those protesters outside, about that woman in particular saying that the primary process was rigged, because that was the complaint from most of the Bernie or bust crowd, that the Democratic National Committee had rigged the primary process to push Bernie Sanders out. And we saw evidence of that in the WikiLeaks email leak, where the hacker hacked into the Democratic National Committee's emails, released 20,000 of them, and we saw evidence that the chairwoman, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, was talking about ways to help Hillary. In fact, she was going to use Bernie Sanders' religion against him in a way to prop up Hillary. Now, this gives the appearance of collusion, and the Democrats really didn't address that too much. Do they just not care that they've rigged the process?
Well, you know what? I don't even think it's a appearance of a collusion. It's absolutely collusion, and I find it hard to believe that Hillary Clinton's campaign didn't help to coordinate that, especially considering the fact when Debbie Wasserman Schultz resigned her position, 2 seconds later, as some call it, she was the chair of Hillary Clinton's campaign. So that tells you she was getting rewarded for bad behavior. That's obviously what it is. I think the Democrats don't want to talk about this at all, and I think the usual response when you talk to people about this, especially these hardcore Democrats, about Hillary Clinton's behavior, about her being a liar, about the DNC jumping into this primary fight, they say, well, all politicians lie. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It's just like me being from Illinois and saying, I might as well vote for this guy because all politicians are corrupt. Absolutely not. You want the person that's most honest, the most capable person for the job. And one of the reasons why she picked Tim Kaine is because he comes off as a relatively honest guy and has experience that maybe not as tainted as hers. So I think that it's problematic on many levels, and the Democrats won't speak up about this issue because they know that it hurts them the most.
Right, because they have no defense for it. All right, Gianno, let's jump the aisle really quick, talk about the RNC, the Republican convention from last week. I want to ask you the same question about Trump. We have a short video. Let's take a look.
Thank you. Without objection, the previous question is ordered. The question is on adoption of the resolution. All those in favor say aye. All those no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the resolution is agreed to. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
Point of order! Point of order! Point of order!
All right, Gianno, as you can see and hear, quite the chaos at the Republican convention, too, especially that first day, the roll call vote. Division there, too, especially at the beginning. Was Trump able to, in the face of the division, was he able to unite his party behind him, or do we remain divided?
You know what? I wouldn't say, I would disagree with the narrative that was chaotic. I thought it was democracy at play. I think the difference between the Republican convention and the Democrat convention is there were massive interruptions throughout the Democratic convention. Even when you had President Obama on stage, there were people shouting out. You saw a number of, even you saw the police officer saying, hey, let's take a moment of silence, and people are yelling out Black Lives Matter. It doesn't get more chaotic than that, Liz, and I think that it's problematic on many levels. Yes, we had issues. There's no question about that. I won't deny that. But it wasn't the same level of issues that the Democrats have, and they continue to play off. So I think that, you know, there's some uniting that still must occur in our party, but at least we had the #2 vote getter, Ted Cruz, get on stage and talk about having Republicans coalesce around conservative principles. He didn't support Donald Trump, or rather he didn't endorse him, but when I had a conversation with him, he said that he would be open to it. So that is definitely a stronger place than some of the Bernie Sanders supporters during the Democratic convention.
Right, I think you have a good point about the process. At least Republicans respected the process where Democrats seemed not to. Gianno, we are out of time, but it was great to talk to you as always. Thanks for being here. All right, let us know what you think. Did Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton better unite their party behind them? Tweet Liz_Wheeler, share your thoughts, and we'll be back in 1 minute.